Have you ever heard of the Jin King? They say his lost city holds secrets that could change the world. But is it just a legend, or is there more to the story? Deep within the vast, devouring sands of the Great Desert lies the legend of Sumud, the hidden Jin capital that vanished millennia ago. Lore says it's King Azraqan, the Blue Jin King, poured it into another dimension after betraying Jin laws with his love for a human. But the legend never mentioned that this disappearance wasn't salvation, it was a curse. Ferris wasn't just an explorer. He was consumed by the unknown, driven by a past shadow, the loss of his younger brother, Jamal, on a previous expedition, tragically attributed to strange phenomena that broke his family. He sought not wealth, but truth, a desperate quest for answers that science could provide. His most prized possession was an ancient silver ring, inherited from his grandfather, a renowned occultist, said to be crafted from Madan Awa, the metal of souls, and capable of revealing hidden truths. It pulsed faintly, a cold prickle on his skin whenever strange energies were near. He unearthed an ancient, brittle map, etched with glowing, strange ink. It pointed not to gold, but to Sumud. Disbelieving the myths, yet compelled by an insatiable curiosity, Faris ventured into the desert's heart. His guide was Sarkar, a man of few words, his eyes holding countless untold tales. Sarkar, it would later be revealed, was the last descendant of Sumud's high priests, his family entrusted with guarding the city's deepest secrets and the knowledge of how to combat the creatures within. Days blurred under the scorching sun until they reached a desolate, unsettling region. The sands lay unnaturally still, their air thick, pressing down on their chests. Suddenly, their electronics went haywire. Ferris's compass spun wildly, and Seika's phone emitted garbled screams. Before them, shimmering like a mirage, stood remnants of colossal stone towers, half buried, adorned with strange carvings that pulsed with a faint blue light. They had found Sumud's entrance. Just as they stepped into the city's maw, a bone-chilling shriek echoed. A skeletal hand, brittle and ancient, reached from beneath a dune, clutching a rolled-up ancient manuscript. As Faris instinctively reached for it, the skeleton violently reanimated, transforming into a hulking shadow entity, a twisted, spectral figure cloaked in shifting darkness. It lunged. This wasn't a mere jump scare. It was a brutal test. Sarkar, quick as a viper, drew his ancient silver dagger, its blade glowing faintly. He moved with a practiced grace, parrying the entity's shadowy claws. Faris, drawing his own combat knife, found it useless against the ethereal form. But as the entity lashed out, his silver ring pulsed, a painful coldness spreading through his hand. He thrust his hand forward, and the ring flared with a concentrated burst of cold light, momentarily disrupting the shadow entity, causing it to recoil with a guttural roar. Silver isn't just a metal to them, Faris, Sarkar rasped, his eyes fixed on the retreating entity. To the Jinn, especially those trapped and corrupted, it's Madan Awa, the metal of souls. It tears at their essence. The entity, wounded by the silver, dissipated back into the sand. Faris quickly snatched the manuscript. It held terrifying revelations. Azraqan wasn't the only imprisoned Jin king. There were other monarchs trapped in lost cities, their names whispered in archaic script. The entrance slammed shut behind them, plunging them into absolute darkness. Ferris's flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing a labyrinth of tight corridors. The walls were covered in pulsating, shifting carvings that seemed to breathe. Sarkar began murmuring verses, his eyes piercing the shadows. This is no abandoned city, Faris. This city is cursed, its very essence alive with tormented spirits. Suddenly, a deep, resonating whisper filled the air, the collective echo of ancient suffering. The faint blue lights on the carvings intensified, coalescing into distorted Jinn faces, their eyes burning with red-hot embers. These were no mere ghosts. They were shadow entities, Jinn souls trapped within the city, transformed into negative energy feeding on fear. They materialized from the walls, attacking with terrifying speed. Ferris's mundane knife was useless, but Seika's silver dagger caused them immense pain. Each strike made them shriek and dissipate temporarily, only to reform. Deeper they delved. Each step heightened the terror. They stumbled into a vast chamber lined with magical mirrors, ancient relics meant to reflect truth, now twisted to torment. These weren't ordinary reflections. They reflected their deepest, most horrific nightmares. Faris saw his deceased brother, Jamal, his face twisted in agony, slowly transforming into a shadow entity, reaching for him, pleading, Sokka saw brutal visions of his ancestors being mercilessly slaughtered by monstrous jinn, their screams echoing in his mind. The room filled with chilling whispers. Ferris's silver ring pulsed violently, confirming the illusions. "Break the mirrors," Ferris yelled, his voice strained. They quickly realized the trap. Each mirror they shattered released a furious, full-fledged jinn ghost, bound to the illusion, now free and enraged. They fought their way through, smashing the mirrors with Seika's dagger. Each broken mirror brought a new, direct battle with a malevolent spirit, forcing them to learn the rhythm of this terrifying realm. Ferris found his ring could not destroy these three ghosts, only briefly push them back, leaving him with a sharp, draining coldness in his hand and fleeting, disturbing visions of countless tortured souls. Finally, they entered an immense hall where colossal stone guardians, resembling monstrous sphinxes with glowing emerald eyes, guarded a central glowing emerald. These weren't mere statues. They were the guardians of Zumud, living constructs. As they approached, the statues awoke with a grinding roar, their stone limbs cracking, their eyes glowing, and they began to move, launching devastating attacks. "Their power is bound to the city's essence," Sokka shouted, ducking a crushing blow. With a guttural cry, Sokka began chanting ancient words, pressing his palms against the pulsating wall carvings. A powerful localized sandstorm erupted within the chamber, whipping around the massive guardians, momentarily disorienting them and slowing their movements. "Now, Ferris." "The eyes. They are the key," he bellowed. Ferris, agile and desperate, scrambled up the side of one of the immense statues, using his knife to wedge into its ancient cracks. He saw the emerald eye glowing. He focused the energy of his silver ring, feeling the cold drain, and plunged his hand into its depths, shattering it with a burst of purifying light. The guardian let out a final, ear-splitting screech as it crumbled to dust. They reached the heart of the hall, where a giant emerald pulsed with an eerie blue light. This was Zumud's heart, the city's power source, but it wasn't beautiful. It pulsed with palpable fear and despair. Suddenly, a new figure emerged from the shadows, illuminated by the emerald's glow. Dr. Laya, a renowned archaeologist known for her radical theories on ancient civilizations and an unsettling obsession with forbidden knowledge. She was equally obsessed with Zumud, but her goal wasn't to destroy it. She wanted to resurrect the city for its profound knowledge, believing it held the key to unlocking humanity's next evolutionary step. Her arrival immediately created a tense internal conflict. "We can't just destroy this, Ferris," she pleaded, her eyes gleaming with a manic fervor. "This is beyond understanding. This is the future." Vision surged from the emerald. They saw Azraqan, the Jinn King, battling other Jinn tribes. They saw the human girl he loved, screaming as her soul was ripped from her body and drawn into the emerald. This was Azraqan's curse. His love wasn't a salvation for his city, but a tool used by the vengeful Jinn tribes to imprison his soul and his beloved is within the emerald, transforming Zumud into an eternal prison feeding on their tormented energy. Suddenly, the chamber quaked. The giant emerald began to crack, and thick blue mist billowed from it. The mist slowly coalesced into a colossal, terrifying figure, Azraqan himself, but he was no longer the wise king of legends. He was a monstrous entity of pure wrath and despair, his eyes burning with dark blue flames, his body a shifting mass of volatile energy. He had become the prime entity of terror, the guardian of his eternal prison. Azraqan attacked with earth-shattering force, unleashing bolts of blue lightning and conjuring horrifying illusions that assaulted their minds. The battle was fierce. Sokka, with his ancient training, used his silver dagger and chanted jinn-warding spells, creating powerful gusts of desert winds that momentarily impeded Azraqan's raw power. "His true form is pure energy. Find the core," Sokka roared, pushing back a wave of corrupted spirits with his dagger. Ferris, focused on his desperate mission, remembered the legend. Azraqan loved a human. He looked at the cracking emerald. Inside, he saw a faint flicker, the imprisoned soul of the human girl. He realized the entity fed on the energy of this cursed love. "We have to shatter the emerald," Ferris yelled, but Azraqan guarded it fiercely. While Sokka directly engaged Azraqan, buying precious seconds, Ferris sprinted towards the emerald. Shadow entities poured from the crumbling walls, trying to drag him down, but he fought through them, dodging their ethereal claws. Dr. Laya, in her misguided zeal, tried to physically block Ferris, believing he was destroying a treasure. "Don't. This is knowledge. This is power," she shrieked, her eyes wide with a terrifying mania. Faris had to shove her aside. He reached the emerald. He raised his combat knife, his silver ring flaring violently. The cold drain intensified. He plunged it with all his might into the pulsing, glowing stone. As the knife struck the emerald, a blinding blue light erupted, followed by an agonizing, deafening shriek from Azraqan. His colossal body began to disintegrate, not into pixels, but into thousands of glowing blue shards that scattered into the air. The emerald crumbled into dust, but the victory was short-lived. With the emerald's destruction, the entire city began to collapse. Walls cracked, ceilings caved in. The ground beneath them began to split open, revealing grotesque, decaying jinn hands reaching up from the abyss, trying to drag them into the void. "We have to get out. The entity is breaking free," Saka roared. They scrambled towards the now crumbling entrance. As they ran, Dr. Laya, seeing a large, glowing emerald shard from the now shattered heart, lunged for it, consumed by her obsession. "I must have it. The knowledge," she shrieked. But as her fingers closed around the shard, the ground beneath her gave way. She screamed, not just in fear, but with a horrifying fascination, as she was dragged down by grasping jinn hands into a swirling, pixelated vortex of digital corruption. The emerald shard glowing ominously in her grip as she vanished. Faris spotted a faint green flicker on one of the ancient carvings near the collapsing entrance, a familiar symbol his grandfather had drawn. He remembered Saka's tales of jinn signals. "Here," Faris yelled, pointing to the carving. Saka placed his hand on the glyph, chanting ancient words of passage and warding. The heavy stone entrance slowly groaned open, revealing the blinding daylight. They burst out, just as Zimmer imploded behind them, crumbling into a pile of sand and dust, as if it had never existed. Faris and Saka emerged from the desert, exhausted but alive. They spoke little of what they had witnessed, but in the quiet nights, Faris was plagued by recurrent nightmares of Azraqan's voice, a chilling whisper echoing, "You freed me." "But others are coming." His silver ring now pulsed with a faint, persistent warmth, sometimes causing his vision to momentarily warp, as if seeing glimpses of another dimension. Months later, back in civilization, Faris found himself haunted by the whisper. One evening, he was sifting through the recovered contents of Dr. Layan's research bag, a bitter reminder of her tragic end. He pulled out an ancient, intricately drawn map. It didn't just show Zumud, it detailed the locations of 7 legendary jinn capitals, scattered across the globe, each marked with a unique, ominous symbol. Zumud was only one. The map was cold to the touch, and when his silver ring brushed against it, a faint, high-pitched hum resonated. As he traced the map, a new, terrifying vision assaulted his mind, a fleeting image of a fiery red jinn queen, her eyes burning with pure malice, emerging from a vortex of sand and flame, laughing silently. She was Azraqan's ancient rival, seeking vengeance for his freedom and ready to reclaim the realm, or perhaps to finish what he started. The whispers returned, stronger this time. The true war has only just begun. And Laya, she sees it now too.